Continue with the rest of your international news. United against the government. A massive rally in Canada's Montreal against the government's planned university tuition fee hikes. Thousands of students, protesters, and their supporters are angry at a recent emergency law that was passed to limit the student movement. The rally is the first since the latest negotiations between student groups and the Quebec government broke down last Thursday. The talks were aimed at ending nearly 4 months of protests over proposed tuition fee hikes. More than 2,500 people have been arrested since the student protests began at more than a dozen Quebec colleges and universities in February. Well, for more on the Quebec protests, we're joined, by Joshua Blakeney from Calgary. Mr. Blakeney, thank you for joining us on World News. These student protests, why is it that you think that the governments and the student groups cannot come to some sort of an agreement on these tuition fee hikes?
Well, I think the difference is that the students are looking to the kind of Scandinavian social democracies, the many countries around the world, 50 or more countries that have free university education. They're looking at Canada's resources. Canada has the third largest resource enclave in the world when it comes to oil. It has diamonds, water, gas. And the students are saying, with all this wealth in Canada, why isn't this percolating down to the working class and providing us with access to education? So they're looking to kind of social democracies as their template to pursue in their political struggle, whereas the political class are looking to the US Republican Party, you might say, to the kind of market forces that are employed in the United States in terms of education. And so there's a kind of clash of ideas when it comes to how to pursue post-secondary education, and that's why we're seeing the two factions in a situation that's irreconcilable. And the students have now vowed to continue throughout the summer, if necessary, to get to defend affordable education. And indeed, the elder generations are now coming to the streets in solidarity with the younger generations. In Quebec, had a series of events that came to be known as the Quiet Revolution, where indeed Quebec shifted away from the rest of North America and in the direction of a kind of European social democracy, which is why Les Québécois ended up paying half the tuition of the rest of Canada. In Canada, everyone else pays double the tuition of the citizens of Quebec. And that's why actually we're seeing the protests proliferating throughout Canada. I was here in Calgary today outside Prime Minister Stephen Harper's office with many young people who were drawing comparisons with the events in Quebec and how they should be acting here in the Canadian West. In Vancouver, students are taking to the streets with pots and pans. They're operating under the rubric of les casseroles these days. And of course, the tactic of clanging the pots and pans is a very astute and apposite one, because actually that was a tactic that was developed under Augusto Pinochet's Chilean dictatorship, where students themselves took to the streets to oppose the mass privatization of universities. Now in Chile, only the 1% can go to the best universities. Currently in Canada, that's not the case. But if Premier Jean Charest and Prime Minister Stephen Harper have their way, education will be prohibited for working class people. And so that's the struggle that young people are up against. Unfortunately, many elders are now joining them in this struggle.
Very well, thank you for that. Joshua Blakeney, our Percy correspondent, joining us from Calgary. Continuing with the rest of your international news and over to Europe, where in German city of Hamburg, police round up more than 700 people after violent clashes break out between supporters and opponents of the neo-Nazi movement in the country. Both the leftist and the rightist groups organized their marches on the same day, and the rallies were actually coordinated with the authorities. German police dispatched over 1,000 officers to the scene, trying to control the rival groups. But the situation got out of hand quickly when the leftists tried to stop their rivals from passing by. They erected barricades of trash cans and set them on fire. The protesters also attacked the officers and the far-right demonstrators with bottles and stones. At least 8 officers ended up getting hurt during the ordeal.